for upgrading these systems is a lot of people will see that there's a hole in the center of the rear deck. If this would have been an upgraded audio package, it may have come with an 8-inch factory installed 8-inch subwoofer. And so a lot of people will go and they'll go to upgrade and they'll say, hey, there's that factory subwoofer. Why can't I just add an 8-inch sub right there, amp it, and good to go? You can do that. It's real easy to end up with a result that it's not acceptable though. If you're going to do that, if you're going to put an 8-inch subwoofer in that rear hole, there's a couple of caveats. Number one, you can't just go out and buy any 8-inch subwoofer, throw it in there, and expect to have a good result. Operating in that rear deck, using the trunk as its enclosure, basically, it's whatever subwoofer you buy needs to have the TS parameters need to be such that it's considered acceptable to operate in a free air / infinite baffle environment. And not many subs are ready for that, are acceptable for that. One that I found is this kicker. Where's the model? 44CW CS84, single voice coil, 4 ohm, 200 watt. This one is rated to operate in free air, infinite baffle, and it does work well in that rear deck. It works really well, actually, if you seal up all the holes. So to use the trunk as an enclosure, it has to be as close to airtight as you can get it. You'll never get it completely airtight. But any way for the sound pressure waves from the back side of the sub to meet on the front side, it's going to cancel any bass that it's going to cancel it out that it's putting out. So the more you can seal that rear deck, the trunk from the cabin, the better. I was able to do it. It took me a while, and I had to use all manner of. I used some spray foam. I used some rope caulk. I mean, it took me a while. There are you wouldn't even believe how many holes there are in it. But if you want to try it, you can get an acceptable result. It actually sounds pretty decent if you can seal it off and you have the right sub and you obviously provide some power. But there will become a point where the bass will add bass to the system, to a lower end to the system, but at some point there's just going to be too much bass coming out of it, and that rear deck, that cover will just start rattling. There's really no way to avoid it. You can lessen it, but you can't stop it. At some point it's just going to start rattling. So, I mean, if you only wanted to add some bass to this system, not a lot of thumping bass, but just some low end, that's a good way to go. It's a labor intensive way to go, but that's a good way to go. Otherwise, you probably just want to add like a 10 or a 12 to the trunk in a box, and go that route. That'll be a much better if you're looking for bass notes. The trunk is a terrible place for a sub because of that back seat. You can put a really good 10 back there, or a decent 12, and it'll be hard to hear it inside the cabin. Personally, what I've started doing, or I have done, if I had a single 10 or 12, I would put it behind the passenger side back seat back, and then just fold that back seat. If most of the time, just leave it folded down. That way, that sub was just right there, and that was so much better, because otherwise, that seat back will absorb a lot of those bass frequencies. Now, if you step up and have like 2 really good 10s or 2 12s, then it starts. You don't have to worry about that, but just remember that back seat is going to absorb a lot of that energy before it gets to your ear.